All right, folks, here's my review for Season 7, Episode 15, Love Means Never Having to Say You're Sorry. Now, we had a good time during the live stream Wednesday night directly after the episode. Like I always say, make sure you have your notifications turned on and double check to make sure you are still subscribed to the channel. YouTube has been really weird lately, from not sending out notifications to sometimes unsubscribing people from the channel, and then they jump back on because something's wrong with the algorithm. I don't know what it is, but also my live stream, I forgot to plug in my router because people were telling me that the stream wasn't as crisp as last week, but I had to put my desk back together because I messed up putting it together initially. So I had to unplug a couple things to make room. So that's why. And it should be fixed next week, but we'll find out. I'll try to hook everything back up and do a test live stream to make sure it's working. But hey, we had a great time regardless. This episode didn't really give me a lot to work with. So I think that everybody and their mom is talking about the same thing. Aaron telling off Karen, because that's the scene we've wanted to see for seasons/years. But the problem is, I don't know if that one scene was enough to save the episode, because initially I was thinking maybe like a 4 or a 5, but then Aaron in that almost a 2-minute scene, it was less than 2 minutes, but that one scene made me go, you know what, this episode, whew, you saved it. It was a scene so great that it literally saved this from a very low score. I'm going to give it a 7 out of 10. Some people feel like, man, this episode deserves like an 8 or a 10. There were moments throughout the episode where like Pam checked Karen, Andy checked Hayden, and then the list goes on. But my thing is this: when it comes to particular episodes, when moments where a character choose out or rightfully choose out a character or calls them out, that's great. But my main concern is when we get to the next episode, will those particular moments still be relevant? Like, let's say if Andy stood up to Gary in episode 12, by the time we get to episode 14, will she go back to cowering before him? That kind of thing. You can have these great moments, but if they leave an impact, that's what makes them truly matter. But that's just my opinion. This episode, for the most part, the first 15 minutes or so was literally a snooze fest. The only real part that had me excited was seeing Michael getting ready for school. But the jump cutting, it's still kind of an issue with me, but I'm getting used to it, I guess. But I will talk about these scenes as they play out, because if I talked about it in order, we would be jumping around way too much for my taste. So before getting into the review, make sure you take a moment to hit the thumbs up button to show you like the video. Follow me on social media. Links are in the description below. As I mentioned before, hit that notification and select all. Hit the bell icon and select all. That way you should be notified. If YouTube does it, you should be notified whenever I upload content, make posts, or go live. So with that being said, let's talk about this episode. So Ethan is able to save face with Jordan because he comes back in ticked off like, whoa, what are you doing with that photo of me and Andy? And Ethan's like, well, actually, I saw her from across the room and I was just so taken aback by how beautiful she is. I don't pay you to check out my girlfriend. I'm paying you to help me win this election by helping run my campaign. And then he switched it up. And it's kind of weird because remember over the past couple weeks, I've been like, yo, I like this Jordan with the attitude and bass in his voice. So he went from like, what are you doing to, I got you, man. It's like, oh, wow. Okay. What a switch up. But in any case, Andy actually comes in mid-conversation and she has breakfast for Jordan. So from there, Jordan goes out to the boys, say, hey, you guys go to the gym without me. And while he's doing that, we get, Ethan and Andy kind of having some one-on-one time trying to know each other or getting to know each other. And as Jordan comes in, we learn a little bit about, Andy in terms of her family tree. The fact that she has a cousin named Nigel Barnes who went to, I believe Emory is the name of the university, Emory University. And he was studying journalism. So he was also I believe, like editor or something of the school paper or university paper. But Ethan said, "Oh, actually, it doesn't ring a bell." See, well, I was always in the library, a bookworm, so I really didn't get to know too many people. I was shy. So it just makes you wonder if there's some sort of like light bulb in Andy's head that goes off saying, this sounds a bit suspicious. You would think that he would have at least known Nigel's name, being that he was, in charge of the paper. But to be honest, I went to, college too, and I still get copies of the university paper. I think that's one of those things where you kind of get like a lifetime subscription for free if you were a student / alumni and you still get university paper in the mail when they print it. And I mean, when I was in college, I couldn't tell you who the editor of the paper was. I couldn't tell you, but yeah, it's just one of those things where it makes you wonder if Andy might figure out that Ethan isn't who he says he is, but who knows? We'll have to wait and see. But regardless, Ethan's like, "Hey, nice to meet you. I want to head out, give you two some alone time." And, Jordan's saying, "Hey, just make sure that information I ask you for, you give it to me sooner than later." And of course, that has to do with Hudson / Gary. Now, after Ethan leaves, we see the sneak peek scene where, Jordan's still mad at Andy about the Penelope thing. And, well, Penelope told me not to tell you. And it's like, well, you should have told me anyway, Andy. So it's one of those things where he's still mad. She is apologetic, but even though she's sorry, it's just one of those things where that doesn't bring my sister back or find her. So I'm still mad at you. So then he leaves. And we actually see that probably the funniest scene of the episode where before Tamara, Ethan calls Gary and he's like, "Look, don't you ever call me." I mean, I was thinking to myself, Gary's using up all the bleeps in this episode in this one scene, but he's mad because Ethan is calling him. And it's like, look, no. I'm not the guy you call. You call Hudson, basically to keep himself clean so there's no paper trail like phone calls and stuff. But he lets Gary know that I tried to reach out to him, and then he's like, well, Hudson isn't available at the moment. But he just says, "Hey, Jordan's asking me to get dirt on you, and he wants dirt, huh? Well, give him some stuff, but nothing too much, just a little bit of something so he can, get off your back." But then brings up the fact that Andy was there too. And, well, actually, no, I was able to bug Jordan's place. So Gary is excited because good, now I got stuff in his house and I got stuff in her penthouse. So it's no surprise at all that Gary has the penthouse bugged, but this must have happened some point after season 5. I forgot what season it was, but remember, Andy had El Fuego clean the apartment or sweep the apartment and he wasn't able to find any bugs. So Gary probably put something in there in episode 1 of season 7. You remember when him and Penelope were over there for dinner, or when he went to the penthouse again towards the middle of season 7. And remember when Fatima had that gym bag or whatever stuff when Gary was talking to Andy. So it could have happened. Then other people speculate, what if he got that doorman to go up there and do something? And that's possible too. But regardless, Gary has devices in both of their houses so he can hear what's going on. So after that, Ethan says, "Oh, Andy was there too. I was able to meet her. What was she wearing?" And then he starts, unzipping his pants, and it just got really awkward from there. And Ethan's like, "Wait, what? You heard what I said, MF, what was she wearing?" And then he's describing like it was like some silky outfit. Ooh, it's like, "Sir, I'm going to go now." And then in the midst of him, feeling himself, he opts to call Tamara, who's like, "Nuh-uh, don't call me unless you got any money." And then we get to the point where mid-conversation, Hayden comes down the stairs for work because Tamara's just chilling on the couch under a towel and whatnot. And she almost got caught slipping up. And she lies saying, "Oh, my Aunt Beatrice, she was calling me. We were talking for a bit." But Hayden does it by. It's like, "Look, you and these mysterious play cousins and aunts and everything I haven't heard of, well, tell them don't be calling here before 9 a.m. And, there's a bit of kind of a back and forth in regards to, Hayden's attitude, but he's stressed out from the case with Marie. And it's like, look, do you know the commission I'm going to get from this case if we win? It's going to be enough for you to, keep up your life in the lap of luxury without working, because it's going to be a lot of money and I just need to make through this case. But from there, he's talking about like, take down the lobster and how do you say lobster and shrimp? I feel like he said lobster and shrimp, take it down and make some gumbo. And then he leaves for work. And then Tamara's pissed off. But even worse is the fact that, she's trying to get something started before he goes to work. And it's like, look, man, I hit that 3 times last night. And obviously Tamara wasn't satisfied enough because, Hayden thinks he's putting in the work, going triple overtime. But then you got somebody like Gary who just feels up on her and she's sprung. And it's just crazy to me. But after Hayden left, she got back on the phone with Gary and yet again says, like, look, if you want to be with me again, you're going to have to put up some money. So we'll just have to wait and see how things play out with that. And obviously, it's not going to be all that great. Because later in the episode, Tamara does something I feel like is really dumb. Now, they're texting back and forth, Tamara and Gary, and she's looking fine as I don't know what, in like that purple, green, blue ensemble with all the spots, looking like a peacock's feathers. But it's one of those things where Gary's wanting to, get together, but when Tamara isn't playing ball, that's when he kind of like threatens her, but then it goes back to her saying, no, I got evidence. And then she sends him a video of them having sex, which is the video from when they were at that hotel. Remember when she had that pin on her phone? What was it? It was a pin that was beeping next to Gary's phone. And that was video footage. So now Gary's pissed off. I think this was a very dumb move for her to expose this because she's going to wind up in a Penelope situation. This is just, she's underestimating how crazy Gary is. And yeah, you could expose the affair, but I don't like this. I really don't like this at all. And speaking of things I don't like, we go over to the bank and Sabrina and Maurice are having a conversation because Maurice doesn't want to have lunch or, actually, take his little break in the casual break room because of his less than stellar interactions with the other coworkers. So it's basically a whole conversation of Sabrina still not finding a good sperm donor and the fact that there really aren't a lot of black men who do it as opposed to white men who donate sperm. And I think Maurice has some interesting points, like a lot of, black men don't do it. We don't want the Tuskegee experiment going on again. And then he brings up Calvin. So apparently, based on social media updates, Calvin is no longer with that white girl he, left town with. It went from in a relationship to as complicated to single. And folks, I've already talked about it, even based on the promo for this particular episode. It's a dumb idea that I wish Maurice never even brought up. And the fact that Sabrina is considering it is just stupid to me because of the fact that you never want to be with this man in a relationship, yet you think it might be, proper to ask him to be your sperm donor. Stupid, stupid, stupid. And then Maurice just goes on and on and on for a long time. Yeah, that's Maurice. And speaking of someone who runs their mouth a bit too much, man. So Trey is, I guess, delivering some packages or, he's doing something and he's leaving the salon and he's a bit flirty with Pam. But then again, that could be just their normal dynamic if you look at how he interacted with Pam and Karen earlier in the season. Well, pretty much throughout the entire season leading up to now. But this is when the conversation gets kind of weird. So Pam asks like, well, hey, Karen, so, you turned down Trey and you'd be fine with him seeing someone else, right? Look, hey, I'm pregnant with 2 babies and 2 baby daddies. Like, the last thing I need is to try to get with somebody like Trey. And then, Pam's like, well, what do you think about him dating someone else? Like somebody I knew or somebody, I know. And it's like, what, one of your hood rat friends, something like that? No, me. Oh, and then she spits out her coffee. And then later in the episode, she tries to save face by like, I didn't mean any harm by what I said, I don't really know if Trey would be interested in someone like you. I mean, at first he was, interested in me. And then, basically she was trying to not hurt Pam's feelings, but I don't know. I will admit, to some extent, I think she was trying to be genuine and not hurting Pam's feelings, but then also telling the truth about how, at the end of the day, she doesn't think Pam is as good as her. It's like, look, we're both beautiful, strong black women. We're both business owners. And it's like, Karen had to, well, technically speaking, and I'm thinking to myself, Karen, now, let's be real here. Yeah, your salon has been having its ups and downs, but you can't ignore, but then again, she really has. You can't ignore how quickly Pam's business with Roots to Riches has been blowing up, which should tell you that even though she doesn't technically have a storefront and all like you, why would you look? I don't know. Maybe it's a generational thing, but her and Pam are in the same. Yeah, they're in the same age range. But for her to like look down on Pam's company, this just has me rooting for Pam even more, because technically I still ship her and Aaron. But if her and Trey date and become a thing, her being a successful business owner, him doing his thing, bringing the supplies via the delivery. But we still don't know. I don't believe we still know what he went to college for, like what his degree was for, because for all Karen knows, Trey probably has a degree that could be beneficial to Pam's business, and they could be a new power couple, which I think that would be pretty cool to see. But, Pam decides to, say what's what. You talking about being hood and ratchet and ghetto and all. But guess what? I'm not the one pregnant by two different baby daddies. And then Karen's like, hey, you're right. So by all means. And I think it would be really interesting if Trey and Pam actually hit it off. But I respect Pam because technically it shouldn't even matter if her and Trey started dating, because Trey and Karen never dated. Trey was interested in Karen, but she said no. And she has every right to. But the thing is, Pam, in my opinion, aside from being, a good friend, she probably felt like, I know Karen felt some kind of way about Aaron investing in my company without her knowing. So I better tell her up front about my intentions with asking out Trey in the event, she decides to get in her feelings, even though I have every right to ask him out because she said no and they weren't even dating in the first place. So I got to give props to Pam. So from there, we want to jump back. I want to jump back to Michael. Well, actually, no, I'll save on that. So later on, we see Sabrina coming by the salon talking with Pam and then Karen about the baby shower and setting up for that. And Karen's like, look, I mean, it's no big deal. It's going to be simple. Hopefully no drama. And then, Sabrina brings up whether or not Karen and Danny have talked, and Karen makes it clear, like, no, I haven't talked to her. I haven't reached out to her. And I'm tired of being the bigger person. And I'm thinking, like, that's a lie and a half right there. First of all, you had Pam rightfully checking Karen with the grudge list that she has. But then Karen said, I don't hold grudges. Hey, anybody I hold a grudge against, they deserve it. And I'm like, okay, so you say you don't hold grudges, but then you say those I do have grudges against deserve it. Okay, Karen, do you? And then from there, you have her now saying that she's tired of always being the bigger person, which is complete horse crap, because I've talked about it countless times on this channel about the number of times Andy or whoever has to grovel to Karen to beg for her forgiveness, even when Karen is completely in the wrong. But Karen will fly off at the mouth and speak her piece and then just leave and then not talk to anybody until they talk to her first, which I think is complete. Karen is full of it. But then Sabrina is no better because, Danny can't hold water. And I'm like, Sabrina, you are the last person on this show to try to talk about someone else not being able to hold in information or not spill tea with the way you run your mouth. What was the first thing you did after Danny told you or played charades? You told Maurice. And then how many other times in the series have you told information to other people that you shouldn't tell, especially specific customer information at the bank, like with Zach's accounts and how much money he has? It's just Sabrina. And then especially after you have one or two drinks, you just run that damn mouth. But she brings up the question of, would you ask an ex to be a sperm donor? Which I think is wrong on two different levels. For one, Karen is standing there pregnant by two men, with one just so happening to be her ex, Zach. Secondly, Sabrina, you were never in a relationship with Calvin, even though he asked you a couple of times and you said no. So technically, Calvin is not an ex. He's just a person who you dated casually and slept with when you wanted to. And no, so he's not an ex. He's just a guy whose sexuality you and everybody else questioned. And yeah, also, so Pam is eavesdropping and then brings up, oh, isn't that the man I was wearing women's underwear? And I'm thinking, how would Pam know that unless, wow. So Karen's running her mouth too. It isn't just Danny. It isn't just Sabrina. Karen's gossiping about the other women's stuff to the other, the other people within her space. So none of these girls are, good with keeping intel to themselves. But yeah, so I will say Karen, who was probably humbled by the Pam situation, just said, you know what? I'm not one to judge. I mean, it's your choice, Sabrina. So that was pretty interesting. But from there, let's jump back to Michael. So he's getting ready I thought it was so cute. Zach's getting his son ready for school and he's getting on the bus and I'm thinking, oh, wow, he's going to school. So given that DeVal is the father of 4 boys in real life, I mean, I can't even imagine, how, realistic this scene was. They're rushing to get to the bus because what was he spilled some food on his uniform, so they had to like change his outfit or whatever. And it was so endearing. So, and then Zach being concerned, I thought that was very cute too because, since Michael's gone through a lot and he's right, kids can be some cruel bastards, but I think maybe the therapist or whoever he saw felt like, he had the necessary, developmental skills and whatnot to at least go to school. But again, I'm no expert in this, but I think that even though, again, kids can be cruel, but this could be one of the best things for him to be around other children his age, because that could probably help him out. Because I was like that when I was a kid too. Real quick. I had to go to speech class because I had a speech impediment when I was younger, which I find is very interesting because of what I do for a living now. But I was just a quiet kid. It wasn't because I was slow or anything like that. It's just I was just a quiet kid. I just was. And they were going to put me in the special ed class. And look, it's 2024. Hopefully none of the phrases or anything I use are considered offensive, but I am talking from the terminology from the time of the early 90s when I went to school. So just throwing that out there. I was born in 91. I went to pre-K, then I went to kindergarten. So again, just throwing that out there. But basically my mom was like, look, when you go to school, answer them questions because, because people won't think you need to be in a remedial class when I didn't need to. So I did take speech, but that's when I was, a little bit older. I think I was 3rd, 4th grade or whatever. Because again, instead of like strawberry, I would say strawberry, things like shrimp, scrimp, just things like that. But yeah, I think Michael, it would be really good for him to be around other children. And hopefully he's able to make, because he's not talking yet. But like I said, I think he'll start talking soon once he has enough interaction with other kids his age. But from there, I love how this kind of teases the nanny conversation, with Zach being so worried about what if we just take him to school ourselves? And Fatima was like, Zach, his school is over 30 minutes from where we live now, and both of us work full-time jobs. And I'm glad, Fatima brought that up, but I was hoping she would have said what I was just saying about how maybe it's best for him to be around other kids to help him, develop. But Zach being in daddy mode, it was just great to see. I love to see it. So before they're getting ready to go about their day, there's a loud knocking at the door, which it better not be Deja this early. I thought it was, because we do know she's coming later in the season. I honestly thought Deja was the character, and it slipped my mind about Danny. Like, I knew Danny was coming, but I thought it was Deja. But Danny comes by wanting advice about the whole situation with Tony, and Zach is giving his dissertation about how, well, if you want to apologize, cook him a meal butt naked. You shall feed him that meal and give him head while he's eating the meal, and then have sex, and then boom. That's how he will accept your apology. And Danny's like, oh, I think I can do some of that. Fatima's like, no, girl, don't do that. And then it's kind of interesting because the conversation shifts to, well, Fatima, how do you apologize to Zach? It's like, she doesn't. Yeah, because I'm rarely wrong. And then before she leaves for work, she's like, hey, remember, I'm never wrong. And I'm thinking, you know what? I'm not going to say anything because there's a lot I can say to that, and I'll do a separate video. But Fatima has been wrong a number of times, and as Zach rightfully said, she used to apologize, But as the series went on, she just started acting like the other women and never apologized. So I said, look, I get it. This scene is supposed to be more comedic, so I'm not going to take it too seriously. But it is very true. Fatima does not apologize. And it's not because she's not wrong. So I will leave it at that. Remember, I can go on a whole rant, but I'm looking at the timestamp for where I am right now recording. I'm like, dang, we're almost at the 30-minute mark. So let me finish up. But from there, I do appreciate the fact that Danny is showing growth by, again, trying to figure out the best way to apologize. I mean, she talked to her therapist. Now she's talking to Zach for advice. I love how Fatima scoffs at, going to Zach for advice, but she doesn't know about how close Danny and Zach were in the early seasons of the show when he was still working at the airport. So I did like that continuity. And I always say this scene was probably like a test run to see, would Danny fit in Zatima? The short answer is yes, she definitely would. And if you kind of look at it, think about how the group dynamic is changing in Sisters. Sabrina is hanging out and talking with Karen a lot more. Andy's really off doing her own thing with the whole Jordan and Gary stuff and stuff at work. And Danny, she's kind of, I'm not going to say regressing, but she's floating back to her old dynamic with Zach. So I do like how, yet again, the writers are recapturing season 1 vibes, but also doing different, character combos in terms of like, hey, this person's going to that person for advice as opposed to their usual friend. So I do like what they're doing with that. Okay, folks, we got like 3 more things to talk about. Let me wrap this up. So Danny is at work and she's trying to catch up with Tony. He's like, hey, Tony, and he's walking off, giving her the cold shoulder. Very much a lesson in this is why you do not go out with your superiors at work, because if the dating or whatever goes south, then it could actually be very bad. So not being a jerk, but Tony's just like, being her boss, like, hey, Daniela, well, actually, here are some pamphlets I'd like you to hand out. And, oh, what's this for? Well, you will find out at the meeting with everybody else. So he's very cold about it. Now, remember in the last episode, he tried to kind of sort of give some sort of apology, but Danny was cold to him. So now, it's like, hey, I was trying to make amends and you didn't, you wasn't feeling me then, so I ain't feeling you now. But then later in the episode, in the final scene, Danny just pops up in his office like, hey, you're not supposed to do this. But, she apologizes, but honestly, I don't think she should have, but that's just me. I guess it's just one of those things where, wow, Jeremy is one of the rare occasions where a woman is apologizing in this show. Why aren't you happy? Because I kind of don't really think she needed to apologize. Honestly, Tony was the one that came at her crazy. I'm just saying. But, Tony and her make amends because she mentions the advice Zach gave her about, the dinner and going down on him. And I'm not sure why they bleeped out the word head. I feel like they say so many other worse words than that don't get bleeped, but that gets censored. Kind of weird, but whatever. So in any case, in the midst of them getting ready to get it on, his wife, Tiffany, comes in, but ex-wife. And that's the end of that. But going on to the other scenes, Fatima showing up late for work due to the whole situation with Michael. But we have a scene where Hayden and Andy are presenting information to Marie. Hayden's talking about how he had a team that did a fine-tooth comb check on everything in regards to the finances involved in this divorce case. We're talking like the soon-to-be ex-husband with the Swiss bank account, real estate, this, that, and the third. And Hayden and his crew put in the work to make sure Marie's going to walk away from this divorce with as little of a payment to her ex-husband as possible. But Andy one-ups him by having someone come in mid-meeting with a folder showing that actually my team was doing some work as well. And we found that your ex-husband has $75 million in NFTs hidden away that Marie didn't even know about. So she grills Hayden for, basically showcasing how much of a show off he is. And as opposed to working together, he just embarrassed himself. And then he goes to try to check Andy later, and Andy checks him. No. You're the one who tries to make it all about you, trying to make it a competition. So don't be mad at me for showing you up by saving our client a lot of money. So then he goes over to Gary to whine about it. And, it's kind of funny how he's pissed off about who is it this time? Andy or Fatima, Tamara? No, don't talk about my girl. What, you caught feelings? And then Gary's like, do you think she's cheating on you? I don't know, man. That phone is where all the answers are. That phone is where all the answers are because she's very touchy about that phone. And Gary's kind of nervous because remember, he knows about the video footage that's on the phone of them having sex. So the question is, who's going to get the phone first? And from there, we go over to Fatima, who's warning Andy not to get too confident because, yeah, Andy got the best of Hayden now, but that might not last because that little troll somewhere trying to come up with a plan. And as the day is winding down, Jordan comes by to make amends with Andy, kind of in the same way Danny was with Tony. And, he brings dinner. It's like, look, I just hate it when we're at odds with each other. And there's nothing we can do to change the past, but let's try to, make things better between us now. So we round out things with Zach having dinner ready for Fatima. At first, I thought the joke was he must have gotten takeout or something because Fatima's like, what are you talking about, pizza and fish sticks? Which sounds pretty good if you ask me. But no, he got pasta in it and tea ready and whatnot. And then it kind of showcases like, look, we're going to make it through this together. Both of us accomplishing our dreams, being co-parents with Michael and everything. And taking into consideration, her law school thing, which I thought was pretty sweet. But she brings up Angela's suggestion. Angela, no. She recommended, what if we got an Andy? And of course, Zach loves the idea. She's not going to be cute. Oh, I'm all the cuteness you need. And I'm thinking to myself, she's not wrong about that. So I do like the fact that Zach is on board with the nanny. And these two are going to interview different candidates. And we see that in the promo for next week. So from there, we get to the scene that everybody is talking about. Aaron comes in. I believe Miss Lisa and Karen were about to leave to go to a barbecue joint. And it's like, look, let's leave before this Atlanta traffic kicks up. Aaron comes in with a dual stroller, which again, I don't really know why he stopped by the salon to do that as opposed to the apartment, because what is she supposed to do with the stroller now? But it's new, state of the art. Miss Lisa is impressed. Karen is like, wow. What are you doing, Aaron? Wait, what? And then she just goes in like, you're doing too much. Mama, he just found out he's the father of one of my children. And he's just going all just no. It's like, it's not even the right color I wanted. It's like not even stroller. And Aaron is just fed up. He goes in talking about how, look, I'm sorry for talking about this in front of your mother, but I'm sick of your stank ass attitude. The fact that you're mad at me, you're mad at life. And the fact that you are the reason for your own misery. You blame Zach, you blame your friends, you blame Fatima, you blame me. No, we ain't doing this no more. Look, I still got feelings for you. I still love you. But regardless, I had to accept the fact that you still have feelings for Zach. And then also on top of that, you said you didn't want to be with me. And then all of this because most likely you never had a man who's done enough for you in life. You're talking about me doing too much, but you never had a man in your life do the bare minimum, not Zach. And then she's like, excuse me, I'm not done. So regardless of how you feel about me and whatnot, your bitter attitude is not going to get between me and me taking care of my child and his or her sibling. So get with the program. And her face was just, this was chef's kiss. Now, a lot of people said this, and I agree. Like, my initial thing, like, I wish the one thing Aaron would have added in when he talked about how, you know what, I love you, even though you said, you still have feelings for Zach. And I had to accept that. Or he could have said, like, I loved you even when you said that you didn't want to have a child by me. And I said that I would love you even if the child wasn't mine. But, other people said when he said keep the stroller, he should have said keep the damn stroller and walked out. That would have been cold. That would have been like, frankly, my dear, I don't give a damn. That would have been great. But regardless, did you see how he talked to me, Miss Lisa? Some people are like, why didn't Miss Lisa say anything? Why did she coddle Karen? No, Miss Lisa said everything she needed to say with just her facial expressions. And I enjoyed it because if you even half of the sense that I raised you with, you would take into consideration everything he just said. Maybe, well, he didn't have to be so harsh about it. Maybe I think it's just your low blood sugar. You need to go eat something. And I'm thinking to myself, Aaron didn't call her out of her name. Some people think Aaron went too easy on her ass. So you just think about how nasty and vile Karen talks to other people, and then she has the audacity to say that Aaron was harsh to her. Beautiful. Beautiful. This scene alone was like a 15 out of 10, probably even a 30 out of 10, because we've waited years for this to happen. So with that being said, that was my episode review. Not stellar, but outside of a couple of key scenes, this episode was kind of meh. Just skip to the Aaron scene. That's really all you need to see. But let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. Like and subscribe, and I'll catch you in the next video.